guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan and today I'm going to be talking all things weight loss. I'm just going to be talking from my experience and what my weight loss looked like and what I did to get there. Now, I lost 40 pounds postpartum. I gained 29.5 pounds. I think it was like 29.4 pounds while I was pregnant. I am almost 15 months postpartum. My daughter is going to be 15 months in a couple of weeks, and so this is kind of what my journey looked like. So in my actual pregnancy, I gained 29.4 pounds. I think I didn't gain much weight in the beginning. I actually lost some weight in my first trimester because I had really bad morning sickness, and then it really wasn't until midway or towards the end of my second trimester that I started gaining weight, and I was gaining weight really rapidly from there to the end, gaining 1 to 2 pounds a week. Now, of course, right when I gave birth, I was not focused on weight loss. I actually was like the most ravenously hungry that I've ever been in my entire life because I nursed, and nursing, you burn so many calories and it makes you so hungry. So I was definitely not focused on losing weight in the beginning, and of course learning to take care of my newborn and just wanting to soak up all of that time with her. But I do remember losing most of the weight very quickly without really doing much, but I did not formally step on a weight until June 27th, and I had lost 24.4 pounds, and that was just from giving birth. The weight that came off from my daughter being born, she was an 8-pound baby, so she was quite large. The fluids coming out, and honestly, I think just nursing exclusively. I remember I would time it on an app and I'd spend hours a day nursing, and you can burn so many calories doing that. Like, I think I read somewhere 500 to 1,000 calories a day, depending on how much your baby is nursing. And I think just nursing really helped a lot of that weight come off right in the beginning. And then also, I didn't have a lot of time to like prepare meals, and so I was eating a ton. I was so hungry, but it was mostly just like grabbing things that were nearby, like snacks. I remember we had one of those like Costco sized peanut butter pretzels. It was legitimately this big, and I ate the entire thing in a week by myself, or mostly by myself, because it was like the easiest thing to grab. But I was eating a lot of things like that, and then thankfully we did have a meal train from our church, and so we had really nice dinners coming at dinner time, but I was not even remotely thinking about losing weight. I just lost that weight in the beginning because of, I think, the nursing and giving birth. However, that extra 5 pounds that I had from my starting weight to what I ended up gaining, that stayed on me until about 5 or 6 months postpartum. And that's when I really started working on, I want to get this weight off of me, and ended up losing an additional 10 pounds. And so I ended up losing 15 pounds from this weight. And that's what I'm mostly going to focus on in this video, is how I lost those 15 pounds when I was actively trying to lose weight. So June 27th, I started stepping on the scale weekly, even though I wasn't actively trying to lose weight, because I was just trying to get a reference point of where I was at, and I was just heavily maintaining that 5 extra pounds without trying. That's how I learned that I maintained that line for several months. And then come 5 or 6 months, I started looking at what I was eating. The first thing I did was just do like a little audit of my micronutrients and my macronutrients. So I just wrote everything down that I ate and tracked how much protein, fat, fiber, and carbs there were in that meal for my macros, and then tracked several micronutrients. If you guys have seen my how I got pregnant with PCOS video, you'll know that I had PCOS, and so there's several micronutrients that are very important to me in order to regulate my hormones, because I don't take medication for that. So for example, zinc, magnesium, my B vitamins, all those sorts of things, I like to also keep track of to make sure nutritionally I'm just feeding myself what I need. And so I did a couple of audits where I didn't try to eat anything special. I just ate what I was eating, but I tracked it. And where I noticed gaps in my micro and macros, I started then to make an effort of like, okay, what are foods I can start introducing into my day-to-day eating so that I'm hitting my macros and micros how I should. I wasn't daily tracking these. I just wanted what was going to my body on a regular basis to have the majority of what I needed to hit my daily intake of those things. So that was the first thing I did. I didn't lose any weight from that, but it was just making sure that I was nutritionally taking in what I needed and not just eating peanut butter pretzels. So that was the first thing I did. once I kind of had that working for me, I continued to weigh myself weekly and make small little tweaks to what I was eating until I started noticing that number on the scale decrease. And I just did one change a week, and then I would go on the scale to see if anything changed. So a couple of things that I remember, I'm the type of person where I just like to eat the same breakfast and the same lunch every day, and then I rotate through maybe 2 to 3 weeks worth of dinners. Not because I have to or I'm doing that for my diet, I just like eating the same things, and I'll eat them until maybe 6 months, and then I get tired of them and I'll change it to something else. And so I remember at this time I was eating like a breakfast sandwich because we had traveled when I was 3 months postpartum, and I got a breakfast sandwich and it was like the best thing ever to me. And so I started making it every day, and I actually noticed I gained a pound or 2 when I started doing that because it increased my calories so much. So I first started making little tweaks to that. I think I was having that with a bowl of like oats, berries, and some maple syrup to sweeten it. And the first thing I started to do was I cut out the oat bowl because obviously like there's a lot of sugar and calories. Maple syrup is 200 calories for 4 tablespoons, and I probably had 2 tablespoons worth, so that's 100 calories just in the maple syrup I was putting on to sweeten. So I started doing just the fruit with some oats or maybe granola, I'm trying to remember, but I kind of tweaked that so I didn't have the maple syrup calories on a daily basis. And then I started tweaking my breakfast sandwich as well. Like originally it had avocado. Avocado is very high in calorie, so I cut the avocado off of that breakfast sandwich, and it ended up just being like half a bagel. I think I had butter on it at first too, so I got rid of the avocado, got rid of the butter, and I just made it half a bagel with a couple of sausage links and egg, so with berries on the side. So I started out with like a full bagel with butter, avocado, I think cheese, egg, sausage, with oats, maple syrup, and blueberries on the side, and it ended up being half a bagel with an egg and 2 sausage links, I think it was chicken sausage, and then just some berries on the side. So that was something I tweaked with my breakfast because I actually gained weight when I started eating that breakfast sandwich because of how high in calorie it was. And then my lunches that I was eating at the time were acai bowls. And I noticed that when I removed the honey from the bowl, honey is 60 calories, my weight started to go into a deficit. And I did the same thing with peanut butter. Peanut butter, I believe, is 180 calories, and I swapped it out for PB Fit that went into the smoothie mixture, which is, I want to say, like 60 calories. So all I did, I was still eating the same things, but I was just checking in with the scale on, is this making me gain weight? Am I keeping the same weight? Or is this helping me lose weight? And when I made those specific tweaks, I noticed my weight starting to go down. I think I was losing maybe half a pound a week, and I would continue to weigh myself weekly. And when I noticed that it would get stagnant again, I would make an additional tweak. And so that's something that just worked really well for me because I didn't have to think too much about it. I wasn't dieting. I wasn't saying any food was bad. Like I wasn't labeling peanut butter or honey is bad. I honestly eat nut butter every single day in my breakfast now, but it was just eating it in that meal every single day was an easy way to remove some calories so that I was able to go into a deficit without really noticing that I was removing calories, if that makes sense. The bowl still tasted great. I was still getting satiated by it, but it was an easy way to remove calories. And same with the breakfast. And those aren't even my lunch or breakfast to this day. I've changed those things several times since, but because I kind of do that like weekly weigh-in opportunity for myself, I can see if it affected me, you know, one way or the other. So that's what I started doing, and I started losing half a pound to a pound a week. So that was in October, I think, which I was 5 months postpartum. By the time I hit January, it was right after Christmas time. I had lost those 5 pounds that I was holding on to that I wanted to lose, and I actually started exercising at this time. Now, pre-giving birth, I was very active. A little background, I was an athlete growing up, so I love just high intensity exercise. I can't do it to the level I used to when I was younger. I have had hip surgery and some knee issues, so there's only so much I can do now. But I love working out. I was active prior to my pregnancy and during my pregnancy because I was sick, I wasn't working out as much as I was used to, but I was still active when I felt up for it. And definitely walking every day. Walking is always something that's been a big part. But of course, when you first have a baby, you're not, I mean, my baby specifically was like contact napping on me all the time. She couldn't obviously be anywhere away from me. She didn't like to be on like little toys away from me. So she was just on me 24/7. So getting a workout in was definitely not possible. And I did go on walks with her, but not all the time until the fall because she was born in the summer. I live in Florida. They can't have sunscreen before 6 months old, and I was just worried about her overheating or getting sunburnt, and so I didn't go outside too much with her those first few weeks. But come the fall, I did start going on walks again, and so that was the first thing I did, which coincided with working on my nutrition and going into that calorie deficit, which probably also helped me lose those 5 pounds during those few months. But in January, the weather was so nice here in Florida. It was like 60s, I want to say, most of the time, 50s, 60s. And I decided to start running. And so I started running 3 to 4 miles a couple of times a week. And then just doing honestly like 10-minute YouTube workouts. It was honestly perfect because I would do it on her play area and she would just play next to me, and sometimes she would climb on me and make it like a weighted exercise, but I was able to kind of specify like a glute workout. It's really important. As I mentioned, I had hip surgery 5 years ago. And so it's important for me if I'm going to be running and active to maintain the strength in my hips and glutes. And so just like a 10-minute glute hip workout. And I didn't need to do an arm workout because I felt like carrying her around was really keeping my arms fit, but I did like a 10-minute ab workout and just little things like that. So I was doing that plus the runs a couple of times a week and just getting my steps back up to, I don't know, maybe 7,000 to 10,000 a day. My goal is always 10,000, but it's whatever's practical that day with a baby. So I was just getting outside a lot and walking, and I think that that also helped contribute because, okay, I was actually wrong. I did not lose the 5 pounds from October to January. I lost 15 pounds October to January, and it wasn't because I was trying to get lower than my starting weight. I do think my starting pregnancy weight, it wasn't my best weight. I'm actually currently at my weight that has been the weight I've been most of my life. So I feel much more comfortable in my current weight than my starting pregnancy weight. But because I had gone into that deficit, it just kind of kept going until I hit that 15 pounds lower, and then my body just felt comfortable there, and I've maintained that the last 7 months. It's now, or almost 8 months. It's almost August, and I've maintained the same weight since January. So my body, I think, just felt really comfortable at this weight, and it really was just by going on walks again and making the small tweaks to my nutrition. And then, of course, my daughter started eating solids around that time because she turned 6 months in November. So as she started eating more solids in the early new year, January, February, March, she was, 8, 9, 10 months at that time, I was nursing less. And as I mentioned in the beginning, when you're nursing, you're losing a lot of calories. And so I think I was not losing as many calories nursing anymore, but because I started exercising more, it was kind of evening out where my body was still losing a similar amount. Yeah, that's really all that I've done. I still continue to just kind of weigh myself weekly as a check-in to see how I'm doing, and I haven't gained any weight from doing anything, so I just am kind of continuing doing what I'm doing. Still try to exercise, run 1 to 2 times a week. I haven't been doing my 10-minute workouts as often as I was then, just because I now have a toddler and she requires a lot more energy, but I'm still very active, going on lots of walks throughout the day, chasing her around and going on runs. I'm still nursing, even though she's post a year. I still nurse, not as much as I used to, but I'm sure that's still burning calories as well. Yeah, just trying to be cautious on my nutrition, but I don't feel restrictive in any way. I am not calorie counting. I have no idea how many calories I'm eating on a daily basis. I'm not like auditing my macros or micros anymore. I just kind of did that as a reference point. If you feel like weighing yourself or tracking things is harmful to you, if that's going to put you into a bad mental mindset, don't do that. This is just personally what worked for me and helped me to lose the 40 pounds that I lost from pregnancy to now almost 15 months postpartum. So I hope that this was helpful for you. If you have anything that you did that might be useful to someone else, to another postpartum mama, definitely leave a comment so we can try to help each other out. Please make this a positive common experience. I know that weight loss and weight in general can be very touchy, so I just ask that we keep it a positive and encouraging space in the comments. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. But other than that, if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!